What's up everyone, it's your girlfriend Shanae, and today I'll be sharing with you my June wrap-up. So if you want to know all the books I end up reading in June, please stay tuned. And I am back, and also if you're new to my channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. So like I said before, I'll be sharing with you finally my June wrap up. I had also done a June mid-month wrap up, so I'll leave that up above so you can check out the other books that I have read towards the beginning of June, and then I'll be pretty much sharing with you the rest of the books that I finished up reading in June, at the end of June. But overall, I read a total of 19 books in June, which was amazing. But most of them, I will say, were picture books, so just let y'all know. I know y'all say that they count, which I agree they do count, but they're a little bit smaller, so I was able to get through them fairly quickly with my children. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So you all know that myself and Bree are still continuing with the Brandon Sanderson read along. So for June, we were reading the Mistborn Heir 2. So you already know, like in my first snippet of my June mid-month wrap-up, I had read The Alloy of Law, and so I ended up reading novellas and stuff along with it, and then also these other two books. So the other two books within the Mistborn Heir 2 is Shadow of Self, and the next one is Bands of Mourning. And then also we had read a novella, which was, I believe, the Secret Histories of Mistborn, or Mistborn Secret History, which is right here, which I really enjoyed the series, but not as great. I'm not a big fan of Mistborn Heir 2. It really wasn't that great for me. I was really bored, especially when it came to Bands of Mourning. As I rate the whole series as a whole, I would give it 3 stars. But I liked Alloy of Law. I gave that, I think 3 stars. I believe I gave Shadow of Self 3 stars, but then this book receives a 2 star. It just wasn't hitting. It wasn't giving what I wanted, and I was just bored, and to the point where I dreaded reading this. But it's like, okay, we have this read along, we have this live discussion, I need to just go ahead and read this book. So I appreciate it for what it was, but it just wasn't it for me. So this book was a 2 out of 5 stars. This one was 3 out of 5 stars, and the first book was also a 3 out of 5 stars. And then the Secret History, or Mistborn Secret History, I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars for that one. So yeah, I mean, it was a good reading month. Just with this Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, I'm like, what happened? We had Mistborn Heir 1, oops, and it was well done, it was beautifully written, and then he came up with this. But I'm glad we're moving on now. We're now going to be reading Elantris and stuff in July. So yeah, I'm glad that I've read these books and we're moving on. The next book that I'm glad that I finally read, and I can't wait for the second book, which is Iron Widow by Saren J. Zhao. Hopefully I'm saying the author's name correctly. If not, I do apologize. I really enjoyed this book. There was a lot of hard-hitting topics, especially about her feet being bounded. I don't know. It was just, the world was beautiful, like with the like female pilots, everything, like Sentien's herself, and like the 2 other characters in this book. I fell in love with it, and I don't know. It definitely was something when it talks about women in general, especially how in this book, how they pretty much were pretty much saying the women pilots were really nothing. They can die. They did not care whatsoever if they died or lived. They did not care. They mostly care about the male pilots rather than the female pilots. And you know, Zetian was well aware of that in this book. Like, she was like, oh hell no. that's how, like, when I see her and what was happening within this book, I'm like, oh man. And then I loved how the love interest between not only just one of the male characters, but the other as well. And I just loved it. I loved everything about the love interest. And I just love it. So like, And it's just crazy how in this book they really were just destroying the girls' lives and did not care, did not give two thoughts about it at all. Everything that the girls had to go through and stuff, they just did not care. And then to top it off, they didn't care if they died. So yeah, I will continuing on reading this book. I don't know when the second book comes out, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I really enjoyed this book. Of course, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This was just well done, beautifully written. I love the world. It was action packed. It kept me on my toes. So definitely looking forward to reading more by this author. So yeah, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So excited for the second one. So yeah, I also read this at the end of June. Next book, we actually did our live discussion last night. And I had a live discussion with Erica from The Broken Spine, Bree from Lock Petition, and Bree from Bree Cherie Reads. We had a live discussion about The Good House, which is another book that I read in June. And I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars is because of the ending. It was so abrupt to me. I wanted just a little bit more. I just wanted a little bit more, but it was still really good. It was a good read. I will say, like, at the first chapter, I was a little bit triggered because of certain situation in this book that actually happened to a family member of mine. And yeah, I had to put the book down for like a couple of days, and then I picked it back up. And this is a book where you can't just read through it. I feel like you have to process it. You have to put the book down and try to grasp everything that you're reading, which I do love books like that because it gives you a certain perspective. It gets you thinking, and it doesn't with Tenerife do. She doesn't spoon feed you. Like, you have to literally read the pages and get it right. She doesn't spoon feed you or nothing. So I will be continuing on reading her books. Love this book. Just like I said, the ending was just I wanted more, but still 4 out of 5 stars for The Good House. And definitely check out the live discussion on Erica's channel, The Broken Spine, because she'll have that up there. And actually, I'll put it up here as well so you can check out the live discussion. But yeah, such a great book. I highly recommend it. Next book that I read, which, oh man, I'm so happy that I read this book, and now I'm looking forward to the second book of the duology, and that is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. Now, I will say this does have similarities to Blood Scion by Deborah Fallier, but I love this so much. So it's very gruesome. And Akenna and everything she's going through to figure out who murdered her grandfather, the highest person, who would disrespect him in that manner. And she's really figuring that out, but also going through these trials at the same time and trying to survive and live, but also keep her powers in secret. So, man, I really enjoyed this book so much that I cannot wait for the second one. I have read this along with Bree from Bree Cherie Reads. We both read this and we fell in love with it, and we both agreed that Blood Scion and this have similarities, like 100% have similarities. There's some different things in it, but like it still has some similarities that I will say they're both great. So definitely, like, I read Blood Scion earlier this year. I'll leave that up above. I gave it a review, so check it out. But definitely check out this book because you're missing it. This book, 5 out of 5 stars. Love this book. I have no complaints whatsoever about this. And then I also hybrid read this. So not only did I read the physical book, but I also was listening to it on audio. So yeah, if you want to do that, do that. I've been doing that a lot lately, hybrid reading, because sometimes especially as a mother, I won't always have the physical copy with me, especially if I'm doing housework, if I'm doing dishes, or if I'm taking care of them and stuff like that. Like, I gotta have an audio on standby just in case I can't have the physical book in my hands 24/7. But yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. If you haven't read this book yet, I suggest you pick it up. I was determined to read this book before the year was out, and I'm glad that I did so. So now I just gotta wait. I gotta wait for the second one, so I'm excited. But yeah, a 5 out of 5 stars for The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. Next book that I read, I did a book review about because I really enjoyed this book, and this is the newest release by Akwaeke Emezi, and this book is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and I really enjoyed this book. I know a lot of people said like the situation was messy and messed up, which it was. And some things weren't as realistic as you would think, especially when it came to the son of the father and his reaction, and he eventually like forgave him. So like, no, you probably wouldn't forgive him that easily. It'd be taking a couple years probably, to be quite honest. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And I did a review about it, so I'll leave that up above, that link up above, so you can check it out and see for yourself if this will be a book for you. But yeah, 5 stars for this one. And then this last book that I read in June, which I also did a book review for because I was part of Color Pages book tour, and that is Bad Things Happen Here by Rebecca Barrow. Phenomenal. Loved it. I gave it a 5 as 5 stars. It's definitely like a mystery type of thriller book, which I did enjoy it, and I really recommend someone reading this, or all of you reading it if you ever get a chance to. But it basically talks about a girl who lives on an island called Paris, and her best friend was died, and then to top that off, her sister gets killed. So that's a whole mystery, and so the main character feels like, oh, maybe it's the curse of this island. But come to find out, there's a lot of things coming up to revelation, a lot of things that were like, wow, okay, now that makes sense. But yeah, I did a book review for this. I'll leave that up above so you can check it out. But I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars. So it was released literally at the end of June. So it's definitely out in stores. But yeah, I really recommend this book as well. If you have read this, let me know your thoughts about it. Like, what did you think of this book? You would not think like everything that was within this book would be everything like that because of the cover. Like, the cover is very deceiving, I will say, because I was not expecting that story. But yeah, it was such a good book, and I'm glad that I read that or read this book and that I will continue on reading books by this author, Rebecca Barrow. But that is it. That is the completion of all the books I've read in June. I really hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I didn't want it to be too long. I didn't want to be too descriptive because I have a tendency to do spoilers and I don't want to do that with these books, especially. I'm trying to do better. But I enjoyed a lot of these books in June, or majority of them, and I'm so like, I can't wait. Like in July, like I know it's going to be a good month. I know it is, because a lot of new releases that I have pre-ordered is coming out, like This Wicked Fate by Kaylin Barron. You have The Final Strife coming out, which I cannot wait to read. That's going to be one of the books that I picked for my memberships on my channel. So I'm looking forward for that, because we'll have a live discussion closer to the beginning of August for Final Strife. So yeah, there's a lot of great books coming out, especially by Sylvia Marina Garcia. I know her book comes out at the end of July. I know there's a few other books as well, so they're definitely, I pre-ordered them, so I definitely cannot wait to read them once they come out. But yeah, this is my June wrap up. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching, you guys, and please stay healthy and stay safe. See ya.